It rattles through the thin wallboards like a chain dragged over stone. Your brother's breath catches on the exhale, then stutters into a wet wheeze. You don't even open your eyes. The sound is already familiar. It's been going like that since the afternoon. Your mattress is a sack of old straw stuffed in a corner, damp from the rain that leaks through the ceiling. The blanket's thin and someone's feet are pressed up against your spine. Probably Lena's. She kicks in her sleep. You shift, careful, not to wake her. Your body aches from yesterday's errands fetching coal chips from the alley, scouring ash from a pot for Ma, chasing rats off the banister for the upstairs neighbor who gives you broken bread in return. Another cough. You sit up. The room is dark, though not silent. Voices argue down the hall, one in German, one in Irish. A baby wails behind a door that's been missing its hinges for weeks. You hear boots stomping upstairs slick with water. And urine. Somewhere in the building, someone is crying, not loud, but steady. The kind of cry that's been going on for hours. The 5 points don't sleep, not really. You crawl to the other side of the room. Ma's crouched near the hearth, such as it is, just a square of broken brick where a tin pot rests, barely steaming. The candle stub on the shelf is burnt to the wick. She's using a bit of lamp oil. For light now, poured into a dented teacup with a rag for a wick. It smells sharp and sour, and it flickers in the breeze from the cracked window. Your brother lies on a cot beside her, shivering under a flour sack. His skin looks like damp paper. Ma, you whisper. She says, not unkind. Try to keep the little ones asleep. You kneel beside her. A single rat darts across the floor behind you, making for the flour bin. Ma doesn't even flinch. She's too busy wringing out the rag in the tin bowl. She wipes Tommy's forehead with it, the water brown from overuse. He moans softly, rolls his head. I could go for the doctor, you say. With what money? She says, quietly. You're going to trade your shoes. You look down at your feet. One shoe, really. You lost the left one in a ditch 3 weeks ago. We could go to the sisters, you suggest. At St. Mary's, they might help. They're full, she says, pressing the rag to Tommy's chest now, for families lined up this morning. One boy had blue lips, still couldn't get in. What about Mr. Hanrahan? You try? He's got that medicine he gives his girls, for the cough. Laced with gin, she snaps, too sharply, then softens. We don't need him nosing about. You want me working for him just to keep your brother breathing? You shake your head. The cough rattles again. Tommy's eyes flutter, then close. His lips look dry. You glance at the pot on the bricks. There's no more, she says. Boiled the last bit of onion into it hours ago. I'll try the neighbor tomorrow. Maybe she's still got turnip peelings. You look around the room. 3 children sleep behind you, your sister Lena curled up next to baby Josie, who's wrapped in old newspaper. Beside them lies Timmy, the oldest after you, arms around the family Bible like a shield. The rain taps steady at the window panes. I could go now, you say. See if someone has broth left, or bread. No, she says, firmly. It's past midnight. Ain't safe. I can handle myself. I said no. She doesn't raise her voice. It's the kind of no you can't argue with. The kind that comes from hunger, fear, and 5 too many children. Tomorrow you can try the baker's ash bin again. He might throw out crusts. You look back at your brother. His skin gleams with sweat. His breathing sounds thick, like his lungs are full of water. Ma wipes his face again. What if it's cholera? You whisper. It's not, she says. Too quickly, he'd have worse. The cramps, the purging, he don't got that. You think about Mrs. Mooney from 2 floors down. She had it. So did her baby. They were both gone in less than 2 days. Some men came and wrapped them in sheets, carried them out like sacks of coal. The bedbugs still live in the empty cot. It's just fever, Ma insists. He'll sweat it out. You don't say anything. Instead, you walk to the flower bin and shoo the rat away with a hiss. It scampers under the wall and vanishes. You open the lid. A single scoop of flour sits at the bottom. That's tomorrow's breakfast, unless someone drops bread in the alley or gives you work. You shut the bin. I could get something, you say, voice low. I know where some men play dice. I could, no, she says. You don't steal. Not from drunks, not from pockets, not from grocers. But other boys, you are not other boys. Her voice is hoarse, but hard. Her hands tremble as she wrings out the rag again. There's nothing left in the bowl. I'm not sending my son to steal for bread, she says. We'll get by, we always do. You don't answer. Instead, you crawl back to your corner, curl up beside Lena, and stare at the ceiling. It's leaking again. Water drops onto your cheek. You close your eyes. A floorboard groans. Somewhere above you, someone starts to scream. A man's voice, full of drunken rage. Then the sound of glass breaking. You wrap your arm around Lena. This is life in the 5 Points, and the night is far from over. The screaming upstairs doesn't stop. It breaks through the floorboards like thunder. A man's voice thick with rage and liquor, followed by a sharp crash. Maybe a bottle, maybe something heavier. Then a woman's voice, shrill and desperate. Then silence. You stay curled around Lena, heart pounding. She doesn't stir. She's learned, like you have, that the smart thing to do in 5 Points is to stay still, stay quiet, and stay small. You watch the ceiling through the dark until the shouting resumes further down the hall now, slurred and stumbling. Then a door slams. Then nothing. The city breathes around you or wheezes. A dog barks somewhere in the alley. A steam whistle moans down by the harbor. You hear footsteps in the hallway, then coughing, then the scratch of matches lighting a pipe. This building never really sleeps. It only sags under the weight of the living. By the hearth, Ma hasn't moved. Tommy's fever is high, but steady. He hasn't vomited, which is good. But he hasn't spoken, which is bad. You try to sleep, you really do. You count your breaths, whisper a prayer, even trace your finger along the threadbare edge of the blanket like Ma used to do when you were little. But the floor's too hard, your stomach's too empty, and the air smells too thick, a mix of mildew, boiled onions, and sickness. When the first light of morning filters through the window, barely brighter than the lamplight, you give up. Trying, you rise quietly, stretch the ache from your back, and head for the corner where your one shoe waits. You slide it on and use rags to wrap the other foot. Ma hears you. Where you think you're going, she whispers. Just the bakery alley, you say. Like we talked about. She nods, eyes hollow. Her fingers are still wrapped around the rag, but the bowl is empty. Tommy twitches in his sleep, murmuring something unintelligible. She watches him like he's made of glass. I'll be back, you promise. You slip into the hallway, careful not to wake the other families. The hall smells of urine and coal dust. You pass 2 doors where people sleep in piles, clothes for pillows, bedbugs for company. A cracked window near the stairwell gives you a glimpse of the world outside, the alley. Damp, and slick, and the brick buildings rising like tombs into the foggy sky. You go down the stairs fast. Skipping the second step, it always groans and wakes the janitor, and he charges people for using the stairwell. Before sunup, out the back door and into the alley. The 5 Points stinks worse in the morning. Smoke clings to the air like wet fabric. A cat slinks past you, thin as wire. The alley is littered with bones, torn paper, last night's spilled chamber pots. You head east, toward Baxter Street, dodging puddles and broken glass. Behind the bakery, 2 boys are already there. One is Johnny Kerrigan, who sleeps in a crate near the docks. He's eating something that might be bread or might be boiled leather. The other is little Ellie Tomlin, whose mother died in the cholera outbreak 2 weeks ago. She's got a ragged basket and the kind of eyes that always look older than her face. Too late, Johnny says, mouth full. Ash bin's empty. You check anyway. He's right. Someone's already been through, left only black dust and a chicken bone. You squat, hands on your knees, and sigh. You feel it rise in you, that knotted pressure in your chest. But you swallow it down. Try the tavern alley, Ellie says. Sometimes they chuck out potato peelings. You nod, then look at Johnny. Any fights there? He shrugs. Depends, which means yes. Still, you go. Because if you come back to Ma, empty-handed, Tommy might not last the day. You take the side path along Worth Street, stepping over a drunk curled around a bottle. A man is sweeping the steps outside. A barber shop, though the brush barely touches the dirt. Laundry lines hang like spiderwebs between buildings, dripping onto the heads of children running barefoot through puddles. At the tavern alley, the barrel's tipped over, but there's still something in it. You dig carefully. Potato peels, a bit of cabbage leaf, even miracle, a stale biscuit edge. You're just about to pocket the good bits when a boot comes down near your hand. Oi, filthy little rat. You look up, the tavern boy, 17, maybe, and thick in the shoulders, glares down at you with a broom in hand and beer stains on his apron. He's not one of the kind ones. I didn't take nothing, you say quickly, but your hands. Still in the barrel, you want to lose a finger. He snarls. You back off, slow, hands raised. Your foot bumps the edge of the brick wall. Scram, he says. You run, not far, just until the next block, where you hide between 2 crates until your heart stops pounding. You open your pocket, biscuit edge to decent peels, and a wet scrap of turnip. It's not much, but it's something. You get back to your building just as the sun finishes rising, orange and low. The hallway is louder now. Someone's arguing over who took the night bucket. A toddler cries in German. A door slams. You slip inside your room. Ma looks up. She hasn't moved from the cot. Tommy's worse. His lips are cracked now, and his eyes don't focus when you kneel beside him. You offer Ma the peels. She takes them, whispers, God bless. Though you can tell she wants to cry. She mashes the peels into water and adds a pinch of flour from the bin. It's barely a paste, but she manages to get some into Tommy's mouth. He swallows. Barely by mid-morning, Lena wakes, then Timmy, then Josie. Ma hands them each a crumb from the crust. You get none, she says. You're old enough to wait. You don't argue. You sit by Tommy's side and wipe his forehead while Ma hums a lullaby you haven't heard since before Pa left. Later, Ma sends you out again, this time with a purpose. You go see Sister Colette, she says. At the mission, tell her I sent you. I thought she wasn't taking anyone. You say she listen. She owes me. You don't ask why. The mission is 5 blocks away, past Mulberry Bend, past the slaughterhouse, past the shop where pigs' heads stare glassy-eyed from the windows. You've only been once, and you remember the smell, bleach and boiled soap. You knock on the side door. A boy your age opens it. His shirt is white and clean. His face is pale but well fed. You suddenly hate him a little. Who are you? He asks. Thomas, you say. Ma says to see Sister Colette. He squints. Is she expecting you? No. She's busy. She'll want to see me. He hesitates, then disappears. Minutes later, the door opens again. A nun stands. They're tall, with dark eyes and a lined face. Her hands are rough. She carries herself like someone used to being obeyed. What's your mother's name? She asks. Anne Delaney, you say, from Bayard Street. She stares at you, then nods. Come. Inside smells clean. You hate how strange it is. The polished floor, the orderly chairs, the air that doesn't stink of sewage. Sister Colette takes you to a pantry. There, she hands you a cloth bundle. Tell your mother I haven't forgotten, she says. You nod, too stunned to speak. You run all the way home, cradling the bundle like it's gold. Inside, a heel of bread, a soft onion, 2 boiled eggs, and a wax-wrapped cube of lard. When you give it to Ma, she finally breaks. She doesn't cry, not like loud sobbing, but her shoulders hunch, and she stays kneeling on the floor, one hand over her mouth. She feeds the little ones first. Then Tommy, then you. The eggs taste like heaven. That night, for the first time in days, Tommy opens his eyes and says your name. You think the worst is over. It's not by Thursday. Lena has a cough. By Friday. So does Ma, the building's front. Door is marked with chalk. Yellow cross for quarantine. The neighbors stop sharing. One woman spits when she sees you in the hallway. Plague rats, she says, then slams her door. You don't have the fever, not yet, so you do the errands. You fetch water from the pump on Chatham Street. You beg at the soup line. You boil cloths in a tin pail, then lay them on Ma's chest when she can't stop coughing. The candle is gone now. You use fire from the stove, and when the fuel runs out, you sit in the dark dot. Then Sunday comes, and Ma doesn't wake up. You shake her gently. Then harder, Ma. You say, Ma, wake up. She doesn't move. You call Timmy, then Lena. They stand by the cot in silence. Even Tommy understands. He clutches her cold hand and whispers, I'm sorry. That's when you stand. You don't cry, not in front of them. You go to the trunk. Inside is a single coin. You take it. Then you go outside. You walk past the bakery, past the mission, past the alley where you first found turnip skins. You find a man with a wheelbarrow and tell him your mother's dead. He doesn't speak. He just hands you a tag. You walk home. You tie the tag around her wrist. When the men come, you take Lena and the others into the hallway. You don't watch them carry her out. When it's over, you go back inside. You boil the last bit of lard and whisper the prayer she used to say before supper. Then you open the window. Let the air in, and tomorrow you'll start again. You're not other boys. You're the oldest now, and the night in 5 Points isn't over. Not yet. The city doesn't stop for the dead, not even for your ma the next morning. The streets outside your building are already bustling, vendors shouting about oysters and soap, carts creaking over broken cobblestone, the butcher's boy chasing a dog off with a broom. You stand at the cracked window and watch it all through the fogged glass. your breath warm against the cold. Inside, the room is silent, not because the little ones are still sleeping. They're awake, every one of them, but no one's speaking. Lena sits cross-legged on the floor, plucking at the hem of her skirt. She's been wearing the same one since Ma fell ill, and it's stiff with grime. Josie's in your lap, too tired to cry, her thumb jammed in her mouth. Timmy is near the hearth, rocking back and forth with his hands over his ears, muttering words you can't make out. Tommy, weak as he is, watches you. You know what he's waiting for. He's waiting for you to say what comes next. You're the oldest now. That used to mean helping with laundry or running to the pump. Now it means deciding who gets the last spoon of flour. Now it means figuring out what to do with 4 siblings and no grown dash-ups. You get up, put your shoes on. You say, even though Lena only has 1 and Josie has none. Timmy looks up. Why? He asks. Because we're going, you say. We can't stay here. He stares at you, eyes wide. But this is home. No, it's not, you say, gently. Not anymore. You don't say the rest. You don't say the room smells like death. You don't say the neighbors have stopped knocking, like they think the sickness might still be clinging to your walls. You don't say that the floor creaks differently now, like the building is shrinking around you. You help Josie onto your hip, tie Lena's scarf over her ears, and lead them all out the door. The hallway stinks worse than before mildew, tobacco, and rat droppings. A woman across the hall slams her door when she sees you. A boy down the corridor coughs hard into a bucket. You pass him quickly, down the stairs. Out into the air. It's colder than yesterday. Fog clings to the ground like wool. You walk aimlessly at first, just to move, just to be outside that room. Eventually, you head toward the mission. Sister Colette gave you food once. Maybe she'll help again. Maybe she knows someone who takes in orphans. Maybe they've got blankets, soap, a warm stove. But when you reach the mission, the shutters are drawn and a sign hangs on the door, closer than Cholera casas. Within dot, your heart sinks. You take the little ones to a stoop and sit down. A man across the street is selling meat pies from a cart. You watch him slice open a steaming pastry. You can smell it from where you sit, pepper, grease, and dough. Josie whimpers. Lena clutches her belly. You pat your pockets. You find a bent nail, a thread spool, and 1 copper penny. Not enough. A woman walks by carrying a loaf of bread under her shawl. You watch her fingers wrap around it tighter when she passes your group. She doesn't look at you. You know that look. It's the look that sees you as trouble. You've worn that look yourself. A week ago, you would have felt shame. Now you feel cold. Just cold. You glance down the street. You know where the dice men play. You know which pockets get heavy after a bottle of gin. You know where grocers keep the broken crates, and where the butcher throws his bones. You told Ma you wouldn't steal, but Ma's not here, and Josie is shivering. You stand up, wait. Here, you tell Timmy. I'll be back. He nods solemnly and pulls Lena close. You disappear into the alley. It doesn't take long. You've seen it done 100 times. A man leans against the saloon wall, swaying slightly, his coat pockets fat with coin. He laughs too loudly at something. No one said. When he turns to spit, you move. A quick hand, a practiced tug, 3 coins. You vanish before he turns back. Your stomach is ice. Your ears ring. You feel like everyone can see it on your face, thief, pickpocket, street rat, but no one notices. No one ever notices boys like you. You buy 2 meat pies and a heel of bread from a pushcart, then return to the stoop. Josie's eyes go wide at the food. Lena doesn't even say thank you, just tears into the crust like it's gold. You break off your piece and eat in silence. That afternoon, you head toward the docks. You've heard of jobs for boys down there. Decks, hauling crates, emptying chamber pots. Dirty work, but work. You pass the laundry line, the tanner's shed, the old iron gate where sailors leave their knives when the barmaid tells them to. You keep Josie on your hip and the others close behind. At the wharf, a man in a blue coat and woolcap is barking orders at a group of boys hauling sacks. You walk up slow, you're hiring. You ask, he looks you over. You 10, 12, too small, he says. I can lift a bucket. I can sweep. I got 4 siblings and no ma. He narrows his eyes. Name, Thomas Delaney. He jerks his head. See that pile of rope? Untangle it. If you're done before sundown, I'll pay you a penny. It's more than you expected. You settle Josie near a warm pipe and get to work. The rope is knotted, wet, and smells like fish guts. Your fingers go numb, then blistered, but you don't stop. By sundown, it's done. The man grunts, tosses you a coin. Come back tomorrow, early. You nod. It's something. You buy more bread on the way home. A candle stub. A bar of soap that smells like tar. That night, you and the kids return to the same room, your room. Still somehow yours. You light the candle. You wash the littlest one's hands. Then their feet. You feed them bread and onion. You wrap Ma's quilt around all 5 of you, even though it still smells like sickness. Tommy whispers, you're doing good. You want to believe him, but you don't answer. You stare at the ceiling and listen to the city creak. The days pass. You work at the docks from sunrise to noon, scrubbing and lifting and ignoring the curses of men who forget your name. You bring home food when you can, mostly bread and beans. Some nights, the children fall asleep with full bellies. Others, they don't. You learn which shopkeepers let you sweep for scraps. You learn how to patch clothes with fish thread. You learn that if you smile too much, people think you're up to something. But if you don't smile at all, they think you're dangerous. You stop going to school. You can't afford it anymore. Sister Colette reopens the mission after 2 weeks. She sees your face and brings you in without a word. She gives you soap, matches, and a tin of dried peas. She asks about Ma. You shake your head. She lays a hand on your shoulder and says a prayer. You don't say amen. One night in late November, a cold wind moves through the alleys like a warning. You huddle under the quilt with the others, Tommy curled beside you, Josie between your arms. You think you hear Ma's voice just for a moment. You open your eyes. She's not there. You get up and open the window. Outside, the lamps flicker. Smoke rises from a nearby chimney. Somewhere, a man plays a slow tune on a harmonica. The notes float over the rooftops like snow. You whisper her name. You half expect an answer, but there's only the wind. Still, you whisper one more word, a word you haven't said aloud in weeks. Hope. You close the window, turn back to your family, and sleep. Snow keeps falling, and the world grows quieter. By January, the city is buried under white. Horses pull sleighs instead of carts. Icicles hang like spears from window ledges. You can't remember the last time you saw the cobblestones beneath your feet, but inside your room, things have changed. The room is still cracked, drafty and loud, with other tenants' arguments and coughs through the walls. But now there's food, most days. Now Lena and Timmy come home from the mission school humming songs about letters and God. Now Sister Colette sends matches and rags and soap without you even asking. You still work mornings. The docks haven't picked up yet. But you've found side jobs, shoveling snow, delivering firewood, running errands for the baker's wife who still forgets your name but pays. You in crusts and ends, you're learning, not just about work and weather, but about people. You've learned who will offer help without asking questions, and who only opens their hand when someone else is watching. You've learned that most grown-ups carry their fear like a satchel tucked close and hidden, but kids wear theirs out in the open. And you've learned you're not alone. Not really. There's a boy named Caleb who sleeps under the stairs in the mission stable. He's missing 2 fingers on his left hand and says he lost them to frost, though you suspect it was something worse. He's the first to show you where the baker throws die-old bread and how to spot the shine of a constable's buttons before he rounds the corner. You share your scarf with him once, and he gives you half a potato he's saved since. Sunday, you've learned to trade in more than coins. You trade warmth, time, secrets, in 5 points. That's worth more than money. One Thursday, you come home to find Josie trying to sew a button onto her dress. Her tongue is sticking out in concentration. The thread is too thick, the needle too dull, but she's trying. Ma used to do this, she says proudly. You kneel and fix it for her. Your fingers are clumsy, but steadier than hers. Timmy claps when it's done. I'm gonna be a sewer when I'm big, Josie declares. You ruffle her hair. You already are. Tommy draws pictures now. Nothing fancy, just little sketches in charcoal on the back of coal slips and mission pamphlets. He copies the church steeple from memory, the riverboats from imagination, and once he draws your face. You look tired, he says, handing it to you. You laugh. You try getting 4 kids to stop kicking in their sleep. He shrugs. You're good at it, though. You tuck the drawing into the crack above your mattress. Later, when the wind howls and Lena cries in her sleep, you look at it, and for some reason it helps. February brings thaw. Not all at once, but in brief, hopeful bursts. A few days of slush, then snow again, then puddles in the alleys where rats swim, then cold again, sharp enough to sting. You get sick, but not badly, just a fever that burns for 2 nights. You try not to show it, but Lena notices. She sits beside you while you rest, reading aloud from a scrap of Bible she brought from the mission. She struggles with the words, sounding out each syllable like it's a puzzle. In the beginning, God created the hey, heavens and the earth. You nod and smile through the shivers. She presses a damp rag to your forehead. You think Ma can see us, she asks. You open your mouth to lie, but you stop. I don't know, you say softly. Maybe. She's quiet for a while. I hope she can. That night, you dream of Ma's hands wrapping bread in cloth, placing it by the hearth, smiling but saying nothing. When you wake, the rag is dry on your forehead, and Lena is asleep on your chest. You feel better by March. The sky is blue again, and the pigeons return to the rooftops. The river breaks its ice, slow and cracking like bone. Boats come again. Work picks up. You're stronger than you were, taller too. Or maybe it's just the way you stand. Now back straighter, shoulders wider. When the dockmaster shouts your name, he no longer adds boy after it. He just says, Delaney. You run without complaint. You carry more weight than before, literally and otherwise. You barely remember what it feels like to wake up and not know what to do, because now you always know. Timmy needs to be walked to the mission school. Lena. Boots are falling apart again. Tommy's drawings are being pinned to the mission walls. Sister Colette says he might go to a real school. One day, Josie's baby teeth are falling out. You pull one with a piece of thread, then give her a sugar lump in exchange. She calls it Tooth Day and insists on keeping the tooth in a matchbox. You smile, even though your hands are raw from rope burns and your feet ache, because the smile isn't for you, it's for them. And you know they need it. One Sunday morning in late March, there's a commotion outside the tenement. You hear boots stomping, a horse whinnying, and then loud voices. You slip outside and see a woman standing in the alley, crying. She's clutching a small bundle of baby, you think. Her skirt is wet, her shawl torn. Two constables stand nearby, arguing with a man in a long coat. She's just a girl, the coatman says. She doesn't speak English. We can't take everyone, one constable grumbles. She's freezing. The child's near dead. You step closer. The woman looks young, maybe your age. Her cheeks are hollow. Her eyes are wide with fear. You don't know why you do it. Maybe because you recognize the look in her face. Maybe because Ma once told you that people are either bridges or stones, and you don't want to be a stone. You walk over. She can stay in our room, you say. The constables scoff. The coatman looks surprised. She yours. No, you say. But we've got blankets and soup. He studies you, then nods. Name. Thomas Delaney. God bless you, Thomas. You don't answer. You lead the girl and the baby up the stairs. Inside. The children gather round. Lena fetches the last onion from the shelf. Tommy gets water from the pump. Josie touches the baby's foot and giggles. The girl doesn't speak English, but she smiles and nods. You learn her name is Mila. She's from Bohemia, or maybe Hungary, it's hard to tell. Her baby's name is Leo's. You give them your blanket and sleep near the door. That night you dream of Ma again. This time she's singing the Galway song, her voice calm, the baby quiet. By April, 5 Points smells like cabbage and mud, but also like smoke and bread and beginnings. The rats are back, but the flowers push through cracks near the curb. Mila begins working at a laundry 2 streets over. She leaves Leo's with you and Josie during the day. Josie loves it, pretends he's her own. You keep working, keep feeding, keep walking to the pump. You start saving your coins in a tin above the rafters. You don't know what it's for yet, but it feels good to save. To dream. One night, Sister Colette comes to visit. She brings a boiled ham, a real ham. The smell fills the room like music. She looks around at the children drawing, sleeping, playing. She looks at Mila, rocking Leo's. She looks at you. You built something here, Thomas. You shake your head. I just kept us alive. She leans in. Don't you see? That's the hardest thing. That's the beginning of everything else. You don't answer right away, but you feel something shift. You look around the room, the patched clothes, the mended chairs, the cracked window now covered in oiled cloth. The children laughing. It's still poor, still hard, but it's home. You built it that night. You light the last candle and place it in the window. Outside, the wind has settled. Inside, Lena hums a school song. Timmy draws stars on the wall. Josie Sings to Leos in a language she makes up as she goes. Mila smiles, and you sit by the fire, arms around them all, watching the flames still burning, like you. Still burning, still here. The first letter comes in May. It arrives with Sister Colette, who waves it like a feather in the air and grins as she climbs the tenement stairs. It's addressed to a Mr. Thomas Delaney. She says, placing it on your table with great ceremony, "Looks like someone thinks you're important." The envelope is stiff and off-white edges, smudged by a dozen hands and post offices. You turn it over. Your name is written in pencil, but the writing is fine, practiced. There's a smudge where a word was erased and rewritten. Inside is a single page. "Dear Thomas, my name is Robert Fields. I am the man who gave you my coat that night in the snow. I've thought of it often. If you're reading this, then I suppose you've made it through the worst part of winter. I hope you did not freeze. I hope you kept the scarf. I find myself thinking about that night more than I expected. You reminded me of someone I once knew, someone who took care of others when no one else would. I've sent this letter to the mission in case you still visit there. If you do, and if you're willing, I'd like to meet you again. I believe we both understand what it means to be cold. Yours, Robert Fields." Bleeker and Sixth U stare at the paper for a long time. Lena peeks. Over your shoulder. "Who's it from?" she asks. "Someone who helped me once," you say. "When it was cold," she shrugs. "It's always cold." You wait 3 days before answering. Not because you're afraid. Not exactly. More because you don't know what you'd say. What are you now, anyway? A boy, a worker, a brother, a guardian, something else. Eventually, you borrow paper from the mission and write back with your hands shaking and your heart steady. You tell him yes. You say you'll meet him Sunday, at noon. You don't say thank you. You're not sure why. Sunday comes clear and warm. You wear your best shirt, the one with the buttons that match, and brush your hair down with a wet comb. Josie offers to rub coal dust on your shoes to make them look darker. "No," you say, laughing. "That's cheating." She giggles and helps tie the scarf instead. At the street corner, Caleb spots you and whistles off to the mayor's house. He teases, something like that. "Don't let them make you into a shoe shiner." You walk the rest of the way with his words stuck to your back like dust. At Bleecker and 6th, you find the house again. The same wrought iron fence, the same black door. But this time, you're not sneaking in the back. This time, you knock. A maid opens the door, looks you up and down, then disappears. Moments later, Mr. Fields appears in the hallway. He's older. Then you remember, or maybe it's just daylight showing more of his face. His eyes are dark and tired, but warm. His coat is pressed. His hands are clean. "Thomas," he says. You nod. He opens the door wider. "Well," he says, "I suppose I owe you a slice of pie." You don't sit right away. He gestures to a seat by the fire, yes. Even in spring, there's a fire and waits until you lower yourself. The parlor is quiet, full of heavy books and oil lamps. Everything smells like lemon and dust. You came. Alone, you nod. He pours tea. "I wasn't sure you'd write back." You shrugged. You did. That makes him laugh. He hands you the cup. The tea is bitter and hot. "I've thought about that night," he says. "Not just because of the pie. You smile," he continues. "I thought about how cold it must have been for you to risk everything for wood and food. And how quickly you left when I told you to go." You take a sip of tea. We don't linger. You say no, he agrees. You don't, he leans forward. I want to offer you something. You stiffen. Not charity, he adds quickly. Opportunity. You blink. I run a warehouse in the East River district. Honest work, wages, men who watch out for one another. I think you could do well there. You try not to show your shock, but I already work the docks. I know. He says, I asked around. Of course he did. You glance down. What's the catch? No catch, he says. Just longer hours, more responsibility, and a man to answer to if you mess it up. You set the teacup down. I've got 4 to feed. 5, counting the baby. I heard, he says. You don't ask how. He folds his hands. I've never met anyone your age who carries as much as you do. That kind of weight either breaks a man or makes him something rare. You study him. He's not smiling, not trying to be kind. He's just telling you what he sees. You nod slowly. All right. You say, the job begins that Wednesday. You show up early, even before the carts arrive. Mr. Fields is already there, coat off, sleeves rolled. He nods at you, like a soldier would, and so begins the next chapter of your life. Boxes, barrels, manifests. You learn fast. You keep your mouth shut. You don't ask for favors, and you don't take them. Mr. Fields doesn't coddle, but he notices everything when he sees the blister on your hand. He hands you gloves. When he spots your limp, he takes you off lifting duty for a day. You work hard, and at the end of each week, he puts coins in your hand that weigh more than any you've ever held. That first Friday, you come home with bread and fresh apples. You tell the kids to sit. You slice the bread thick. You set the apples in a row like polished stones. Lena stares. Timmy claps. Josie bites into hers with both hands. Tommy doesn't say anything. He just draws. You holding it. He gives you the picture. You don't know where to hang it, so you pin it to the wall with a nail. Mila comes in late, cheeks flushed from laundry steam. She sees the food, the children eating without shoving, the drawing of you on the wall. She smiles, and in that moment, the room doesn't feel poor. It feels earned by summer. The work becomes second nature. You begin training others. You eat better. You sleep deeper. You save more. Miller gets a second job mending shirts. Lena learns how to read entire sentences. Timmy knows his letters and demands bedtime stories. Josie loses another tooth. Leo starts crawling. Tommy draws the sun. He colors it yellow with a stub of chalk he found near a church. You ask him why, and he shrugs. Just feels like it should be. You don't argue, he's right. One afternoon, Mr. Fields invites you to the back office. He shuts the door behind you. I'm moving on, he says. You stare. There's opportunity out west. Railroads, expansion. I've been offered a post in Chicago. You say nothing, not because you're angry, but because a piece of the floor under your feet has just dropped away. I want you to run this warehouse. You blink. What? You've been doing it already, he says. I just signed the papers. You try to speak, but your mouth doesn't work. He continues, you're 16 in a few months. That means nothing in the eyes of the law. But I'll sign whatever papers you need. I'll tell the others to listen to you. You finally manage to speak. Why? Because I believe in building things that last, he says. And I believe you'll do the same. You walk home in a daze. You tell no one yet, not until the letter comes. The letter arrives wrapped in ribbon. Mr. Fields has already gone. The new warehouse stamp is on the outside. Inside, keys, a contract, a nameplate, Thomas. Delaney warehouse foreman Lena holds it like it's a crown. Does this mean you're in charge? She asks Dot. You nod, like of grown-ups. You nod again. She bursts out laughing, then hugs you so hard you can't breathe. That night, the fire burns warm. There's stew, a whole chicken again, this time bought with your own hand. Josie sings to Leo's, who claps and squeals. Tommy draws the warehouse, a crooked little sketch with your name on the sign. Lena lights the candle and sets it in the window. You sit back, looking at the room, the cracked walls, the patched clothes, the peeling floor, and yet you've never seen anything more beautiful. You've built a kingdom, not with stone, not with gold, but with care and grit, and the belief that no one should be alone in the dark. The summer heat comes down like a hammer by July. The air is thick with the stench of horse manure, spoiled cabbage, and river rot. Flies rise in swarms from the gutters. The streets sweat. The bricks sweat. You sweat. The warehouse is worse. Inside. The sun turns the wood and stone into an oven. The men strip down to their shirt sleeves. You soak rags and tie them around your neck to keep from passing out. Even the rats look for shade. One afternoon, a crate of flour bursts near the south wall, and you swear the dust itself is sweating, still. You show up every morning before dawn and stay until the ledgers are done, the inventory checked, and the night watchman arrives. You're the youngest foreman in the entire dock district. You haven't let it make you soft. You still haul crates when the boys slack off. You still sleep light. You still carry your coins home in your boot, just in case someone decides they don't like your face. But the men respect you, because you don't lie, you don't steal, and when they're sick, you cover for them, Mr. Tennyson. The man who taught you how to balance the manifests brings you a pocket watch one morning. Was my father's, he says, handing it over like it weighs more than gold. I want you to have it. You don't know what to say, so you take it and nod. The watch is cracked, but it still ticks. You keep it in your vest pocket, near your ribs. Sometimes, when you're not sure what time it is, or if you're doing the right thing, you hold it in your hand and just listen. Tick, 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 Dot, still here, still going. Mila gets news from Bohemia. Her brother is alive. He made it to Canada with his wife and sends a letter with 2 coins folded in the paper. She weeps quietly by the window while you watch the children draw in chalk on the floor. Later, she sits beside you and says, I never thought I would stay. You glance at her. She looks older now, stronger, but you ask. She shrugs. But there is bread and music, and you don't answer, but you don't look away either. The kids grow fast, too fast, too fast. Josie reads now, all by herself. She sounds out long words, like chimney and important, with pride in her little voice. Timmy writes letters to people who'll never read them, his father, he says, but he never puts a stamp on them. Lena's voice deepens, and she sings low songs when she thinks no one's listening. But you, always. Our Tommy has started carving little animals out of soap and old wood. A horse, a pigeon, a boy. He places them in the windowsill like guardians. They watch the street. He says, you believe him. One night, a fire breaks out 2 blocks down. You hear it before you see it, bells clanging, people screaming, the pop and crack of splintering. Beams. You grab a bucket and run. It's not your tenement, but it might as well be. Half the block is already gathered in the street, passing pails in a line to the pump. The flames reach out of windows like claws. You take your place in the line, your arms burning, throat choked with soot. Sister Colette is there, too, barefoot and shouting orders like a soldier. When it's over, the building is gone. 2 families. Lost everything. One girl, Ruth, aged 9's, missing. They find her the next morning. Alive, somehow, tucked behind a water barrel with her arms over her face. She doesn't speak, not for days. You and Lena bring her bread and a doll, Josie. Gives up without a word. You never ask her what she saw. You just sit on the step while she eats. In silence, sometimes kindness doesn't ask for thanks. Sometimes it just sits beside the ruins and waits by August. Cholera returns. It comes quiet, at first, a whispered cough, here, a sudden burial, there. Then it spreads like spilled oil through the cracks in the city. You see the carts, again, stacked with bodies. The yellow flag goes up over a block near the docks. You recognize one of the names, Mr. Tanner, dockhand, 2 boys, a wife, gone in a day. You burn every rag in the room. You boil water for hours. You keep the children inside. When Timmy asks why you won't let him go to the pump, you kneel and tell him the truth, because it's not safe. And I don't know how to fix that yet. He nods, doesn't argue. They trust you more than they fear the silence. Then Tommy gets sick. It starts with a cough. Then the fever comes. Then the shaking. You sit beside him all night, wiping his forehead, forcing him to sip broth, praying to whatever corner of heaven will still listen to a boy with dirt under his nails, and too much responsibility in his chest. Mila rubs his feet with vinegar. Lena keeps the others quiet. You don't leave the room for 2 days. You miss work. You don't care. On the 3rd morning, the fever breaks. Tommy opens one eye, grins, and croaks. That the horse I carved kicked me in the head. You laugh and cry, and laugh again, later. You find the carved pigeon missing its beak. You fix it and place it beside his bed when he falls asleep. You sit beside him until the candle burns out, just watching, just listening, tick, tick. Tick, still here. You go back to the warehouse the next week. The men don't ask questions. They just clap your back and hand you a ledger. You realize then, it's not just your family you're responsible for. It's all of this. All of them. The carts, the crates, the workers, the quiet way people lean on each other without needing to say so. You're building something bigger than just survival. You're building trust, and in a city like this, that's more precious than coin at the end of the summer. A letter arrives, not from Mr. Fields, from a lawyer, apparently. He left you something in his will, a small box, inside, a gold coin, a map of the railways west, and a note. For when you're ready to leave New York, or when New York tries to leave you, keep building. Robert, you stare at the map for a long time, then fold it, place it inside your boot. Not ready to go, but it helps to know the road waits if you ever are. The first cold day of fall arrives in late September. Timmy wakes up with cold toes and announces, "I miss the mice." You raise your eyebrow, he explains. They used to sleep under the stove. Now they're gone. You laugh. Josie asks if you'll take her to see the mission choir practice again. Tommy shows you a new carving. This one's a dog. Lena makes a pot of stew with scraps and onion ends. And for the first time in months, you light the old candle and place it in the window. It flickers like it remembers. You sit by the fire with the watch in your palm, listening to it tick. Not loud, not fast, just steady, just enough, like you. October brings the fog, thick. Soupy clouds roll in from the harbor and smother the streets until you can barely see the lamps across the road. The city feels smaller somehow, like it's folding in on itself, every alley quieter, every sound more hollow. The clatter of hooves becomes muffled, ghost-like. Footsteps echo when no one's there. The fog gets into your bones. At the warehouse the crates arrive, damp. Men cough into their sleeves. You tell them to layer up, drink something hot, keep their boots dry. Most do, one doesn't. He dies in a week. Pneumonia, you're told. Nobody even asks how old he was. You suspect not much older than you. At home, you start boiling water again, just to be sure. Miller begins soaking cloths in vinegar, rubbing down every window frame, door edge, and floorboard. You don't question her. Lena stays in at night. Even the younger ones grow quiet. It feels like the city is holding its breath. You get a visitor on the last Sunday of the month. You don't hear her until she's knocking at the door, 3 short raps. You open it to find Sister Colette, cloak dusted in mist, eyes sharp as ever. I need to borrow you, she says, just for a little while. You reach for your coat, no questions. She leads you through the maze of narrow streets east of Mulberry Bend, where the buildings lean like drunkards and the sidewalks are split with frost cracks. You pass a burned-out boarding house and a saloon with a piano playing badly inside. Around the corner is a ragpicker's yard that smells like metal and rot. Then you see the girl, 12, maybe 13, barefoot, curled beside a broken barrel, face buried in her arms. A man's coat is draped over her, far too big. Someone's tried to help her already. She's got no name, Sister says, or won't give it. Some of the other kids call her Owl. You crouch beside her. Hey, number. Response, she hasn't spoken. Not in 2 days, the nun says. Won't eat, won't move. But she blinks when I talk, so I figure there's something still home. You take a slow breath. You know this. You've seen it in Lena after the first baby died. You've seen it in yourself after the worst winter. It's not silence. It's sinking. You take off your own scarf and wrap it around her hands. Then you say nothing. You just sit. You don't talk her back. You don't ask her to come. But when you stand, she stands. When you start walking, she follows. You don't take her to the mission. You take her home. Lena lifts her eyebrows when she sees you arrive with a shadow. Mila says nothing, just brings an extra spoon to the table. Josie gives Owl her own blanket. Timmy gives her his best button. Tommy gives her the dog carving. Al doesn't say a word, but when you go to check on her later, the carving's tucked under her chin. November brings wind, not cold just yet, but slicing. The kind of wind that sneaks through keyholes and finds the gaps in your boots. At the warehouse, one of the window panes cracks. You patch it with oilcloth and paste. The men say nothing, but you see them glance up at it when the gusts howl. You hire 2 boys, Caleb and Peter, to help unload shipments. Caleb's grown into his bones now, taller than you by a finger's length. Peter limps from an old rafter, full, but works twice as fast as the others. You building an army. One man jokes. No, you say, just keeping warm. Owl still hasn't spoken, but she watches everything. She watches Lena read to the younger ones. She watches Miller sew patches into sleeves. She watches the candle in the window. Sometimes you catch her mimicking people running a finger over words in an old paper, folding towels the way Miller does, dragging chalk slowly across the floor. One night, you find her staring at the box of Robert Fields's things. The coin, the map, the note. You take them out and show her. When she traces the train lines with one thin finger, you say, "That's the way west." She looks up at you. It's the first time she really looks at you, like she sees your face, not just your voice, that night. She sleeps curled beside the stove, one hand still gripping the edge of the map. Winter arrives with snow in its teeth. One morning, you wake to white dust on the sill and the sound of pipes groaning in the walls. The baby won't stop crying until Mila boils water to warm the room. You shake the frost out of your sleeves and remind the children to keep their socks dry, to never lick icicles, to blow into their mittens before putting them on. You add planks to the floor to keep out the drafts. You tape the cracks in the windows with paper, scraps, and wax. Josie draws a sun on the wall in yellow chalk so it remembers how to come back. Tommy gives you a new carving, a bird with its wings spread. "Flying home," he says. You ask him where home is. He says, "Here, you." Get your first stolen shipment in December, 10 crates short, all listed on the manifest, all marked with initials. All gone. You call a meeting. The men grumble, then grow quiet when you name what's missing. Flour, sugar, 2 boxes of candles. Could be it never came. Someone mutters, "No," you say it came. You look at the ledger, then at Caleb. He won't meet your eyes. You ask everyone to step out. Once it's just the 2 of you. He blurts, "It wasn't supposed to be all of it." He looks terrified. "I just wanted some," he says. "For my sisters. They got no light. My ma can't get up off the bed anymore." You let him finish. Then you walk to the cabinet, take out 2 candles, a loaf of bread, and a tin of beans. "Here," you say. "Next time, ask." He doesn't cry, but his voice cracks when he thanks you. You don't report him, but you make him scrub the floors every night for a week. Sometimes justice means mercy and a mop. On Christmas Eve, the city is quiet. No bells, no choirs, no fireworks, but there's music in your building. Lena strings up paper stars. Mila bakes with the last of the cinnamon. Josie and Timmy rehearse a play they made up about a raccoon prince and a pickle thief. Tommy carves a sleigh. Owl does something you didn't expect. She speaks just one word: home. It's when Mila offers her a second helping of stew. Everyone freezes. You look at her. She nods. That's all, but you hear it, and you believe her. That night, you gather everyone in the main room. No firewood left for a big blaze, but the candle still burns in the window. You pass around slices of apple and old bread dipped in sweetened water. You tell stories, real and made up. You hum something that sounds like a lullaby, but might be a hymn. And when the wind whistles outside, you just smile and hold the youngest close. You made it through another year, together. January arrives like a clenched fist. The snow turns black with soot by mid-morning, and your boots never seem to dry. The city moves slower under the weight of it, carts groaning, children bundled like parcels. You've taken to wrapping your scarf twice, tucking it beneath your chin so the wind can't bite through. Even the river looks frozen in thought. You ration coal now. Every hour of warmth must be earned, every flicker of fire considered. Josie wakes with nosebleeds. Timmy complains of aches. Mila steeps onion tea and tells the children it's strong, enough to keep death himself away. You believe her, because you have to. Work at the warehouse slows. Fewer shipments, fewer ships. Some of the older men take time off, hoping to stretch their strength to spring. You can't afford that. You stack crates by yourself, chisel ice from the loading dock, wrap your hands until the skin splits from the cold. Some nights, your fingers bleed. You don't say anything. You soak them in salt water, wrap them again, and return to the ledger. You're not 17 yet, but you feel older, older than Tennyson, who now limps from a slipped joint, older than Peter, who caught a cough that rattles like nails in a barrel, older than the city itself. Some days, one morning, the widow who lives 3 floors down doesn't answer her door. She hasn't been seen for 2 days. You climb the stairs and break it open. With your shoulder, she's there in the chair, quiet, pale, a pot of tea beside her, gone cold. You tell the priest, then you take care of her canary, who's still chirping in the dark. You don't want the children to see, but Lena knows. She always knows. She stands in the doorway after, silent, then says, "She died looking out the window." You nod. "I hope that's how I go." She adds, "You don't tell her you'd rather she didn't go at all." February drips through the cracks. Snow melts during the day and refreezes at night, leaving the sidewalks like glass. You learn to walk with a careful lean, eyes down, steps deliberate. Tommy slips and sprains his wrist. Josie bruises her chin. Miller makes them laugh with stories of her brother falling face first into a pig trough back in Prague. Owl listens to every word. She speaks more now, not much. Just yes, no, bread, please. But she's present. She hums when she washes, folds clothes the way Mila showed her, makes Timmy laugh by sticking potatoes into her sleeves and pretending to be a strong man. Sometimes, when she doesn't know you're watching, she reads from your old ledger book. She's teaching herself. Numbers. You don't ask how. You just nod when she shows you. She needs no permission. You hear the first whispers of spring before it arrives. Men at the docks speak of ships coming in from the south again. An orange seller on Canal Street says the frost won't last. A priest from St. Mary's says he saw birds nesting near the eaves. You don't trust it yet, but you clean the windows just in case. You trade a pouch of salt for a spool of thread so Miller can mend the children's cloaks. You fix the door hinge. You take Lena to the edge of Battery Park on Sunday and let the wind slap your faces until you're both red-cheeked and smiling. And when you return home, there's a letter waiting, folded neatly, no return name. Inside, a drawing, a bird wings, spread. Ink smudged. It's from Tommy, you realize. Slipped into the crack of your ledger, hidden until now. You turn it over, one word on the back, free. By mid-March, the ground softens. You hear water again, real water, not frozen echoes. The children leave their boots at the door, tracking wet prints down the hallway. Mila scrubs the floor twice a day. Lena opens the windows for an hour each afternoon. Lets the wind blow through the dust. You smell earth again, for the first time in months. Then one night, Sister Colette knocks again. Not for a runaway this time, for a birth. "You're the only one I trust," she says, out of breath. "Come." You follow without grabbing your coat. The tenement is 4 streets down. You recognize the familiar, widowed mother. 4 children, no husband since the docks caved 2 years back. The oldest daughter is 15. She's the one giving birth. There's no doctor, No midwife, just you, the nun, and a pail of hot water. You stay for hours. You hold the girl's hand. You whisper to her. You wipe sweat from her brow. She screams. You don't flinch. The baby arrives, red and furious and alive. Boy. You hand him to his mother. You step back. You let Sister Colette handle the rest. Outside, you sit on the stoop, legs trembling, breath tight in your chest. The city hums behind you. Another child born into the chaos. Another mouth to feed. Another reason to stay when you return home. Mila's waiting by the door. No candle, just her, you. Smell like vinegar, she says. You smile. She wraps a blanket around your shoulders, pulls you close, and lets you fall asleep sitting up in the morning. You wake to the sound of water boiling and the smell of bread. April comes in like a question. Sun one day, frost the next. Rain that makes the rooftops sing. The occasional sound of laughter from the alleys. You find yourself standing in the window, watching the world unfold again. You make a list. Things to fix. Things to rebuild. Things to remember. Josie learns to whistle. Tommy plants a seed in an old tin mug. Lena writes a story about a girl with a candle that never burns out. Owl draws maps in chalk on the floor, leading from your building to the river, then west, then farther still. Timmy asks you what a buffalo is. You draw it for him, badly, but he doesn't care. You visit the dock less. Now, only every few days, you leave the ledgers in Caleb's hands. Peter handles the hiring. Tennyson still shows up, dragging his limp leg. But now he nods to you like you're an equal, because you are. You built it, and you chose not to hoard it. That matters more than coins. You receive a package in early May. No note, just a single candle, long, hand-dipped, pale, beeswax. You know what it means. You light it that night. The whole room watches it burn. Owl reaches for your hand. You let her. You close your eyes. The flame dances like it's breathing, like it's remembering. Like it's waiting for spring. The last frost comes late. It scrapes across the rooftops in the second week of May, biting at window panes and curling the petals of early blooms. But by morning, it's gone, melted into gutters, swallowed by the rising sun. You don't mention it to the children. You just pack away the wool blankets and open every window wide. Let the city breathe. Let yourself breathe in the street below. Vendors return to their corners. Fruit sellers cry out in a dozen languages. Newspaper boys dart through puddles, hollering headlines that few can afford to buy. A piano plays from somewhere behind a curtain, and just like that, life reclaims the space that winter stole. Owl plants onions in an old crate out back. Tommy helps. He says they'll grow better if you sing to them. You don't argue. You catch them humming to the dirt together. Josie builds a playhouse under the stairs using scraps of cloth and imagination. She names it the Palace. Timmy is her doorman. Lena stitches lace onto pillowcases and says she's too old for make-believe, but she still sneaks into the palace at night. Mila whistles now when she washes up. Not always, but often, and you start walking farther again. Not to the docks, not to the warehouse, just ... walking to feel the wind on your face and the weight in your chest lighten a little. You walk down Allen Street, past the bakery that smells of cinnamon, past the wall where someone's painted a mural of a ship, past the stoop where a boy once handed you a crust of bread. You remember the exact way your stomach ached back then, and how it doesn't now. In early June, a letter arrives, folded, in quarters. No seal, no name, just one sentence. I heard you kept the candle burning. You read it twice, then tuck it inside the Bible. You never do find out who sent it, but you have a guess. One afternoon, Sister Colette visits with a package wrapped in cloth, tied with twine. She doesn't speak at first. She just hands it to you and waits. Inside, a book, not a Bible, not a ledger, a novel, faded red cover, no title on the spine. You open it. The pages are full of notes, margin scribbles, underlines, stars. Next are words like freedom, mercy, truth. Belonged to a boy I knew once, she says. Robert, you reply. She nods. He asked me to give it to someone who'd know what to do with it. You press your hand to the inside cover. You don't cry, but your throat feels thick. I'll read it to them, you say, and you do. That night, you gather everyone around the stove, though it's not lit anymore, and you start from the first. Line Owl sits closest. Her eyes don't blink once. By July, the air is sweet, sticky, but full of promise. The city smells like brick and bread and sweat and sugar. Every night, someone, somewhere is playing music. Every day, someone, somewhere is making noise. The world feels alive again, and so do you. You build shelves, not for food, not for tools, for books. A small corner in the hallway, just a crate turned on its side, 2 planks nailed in, but it grows. A neighbor donates a copy of Pilgrim's Progress. Someone else leaves a grammar book. Lena finds a tattered atlas and tapes the pages back. Together, you watch Owl turn to the map of the Western Territories. Her finger traces a path that leads to a river, then a forest, then nothing. Someday, she says. You nod, not yet. She adds, and she smiles. That same week, you fix the leak in the roof that's plagued the 3rd floor for years. You do it without being asked. When you're done, you sit on the roof and eat a piece of bread with jam that Josie saved for you. The sky over 5 Points isn't beautiful, not like the Hudson or the hills, but it's honest. Smoke, rooftops, laundry, flapping like flags of surrender. You close your eyes and listen to the city exhale in August. Caleb visits. He's cleaner now, straighter, has a wife who teaches letters, and a son who clings to his leg. Warehouse is doing fine, he says. Peter's got 2 new boys learning the ropes. You nod, you're proud. Quietly, he hands you a coin, share of the spring earnings. You try to hand it back. He says, you're still listed as partner. I checked the papers, so you take it. That night, you buy peaches for everyone. Real ones, soft and golden. Josie licks the juice off her arms. Timmy says it tastes like fireworks. Tommy carves one of the pits into a heart. He gives it to Lena. September brings school bells. Owl asks if she can go. You say yes. You buy her shoes. You tell her to be brave. She says, I already am. And she is. Every inch of her. You fix up the back stairwell before the frost returns. Nail by nail, board by board. It's not much, but it holds. So do you. So does this little kingdom in late October. The city is hit with another scare. Not cholera. This time, measles. You stay calm. You boil water. You seal the windows. You ration what you have and make sure the children sleep with warm socks and full bellies. Few of the neighbors fall ill. Some recover. One does not. But it does not spread, like last time. Because now people know what to do, because you taught them, because you stayed on the last night of November. Snow falls again, quiet, steady. You don't light a candle in the window. This time you light it in the stairwell, so everyone who passes sees it, so they know this place is safe. This place has room. You still miss him, Robert. You think of him, sometimes when the warehouse ledger creaks open, or when the candle sputters in a gust, or when you hear a boy humming under his breath, a song you never taught him but somehow know by heart. You imagine him somewhere else, not dead, not gone, just walking, still going west, still writing letters, still lighting candles, on the first morning of December. You wake early, you walk to the roof again, you watch the sun rise over chimney tops and laundry lines. The city glows, pink and gold, like it's holding a secret just for you. You don't cry, you just smile and whisper, thank you, for surviving, for staying, for believing that a little light is enough to hold back the dark inside. The children are waking. Mila is boiling water. Lena is humming. Al is tying her boots. Josie is whispering something to the palace walls. Timmy is giggling about snowflakes. Tommy is carving another bird. And you are home, truly.